The phone call came on a Tuesday evening while Claire was preparing dinner for her husband Mark. The autumn rain drummed against their Chicago apartment windows as she stirred the pasta sauce, humming softly. When her phone buzzed, she expected it to be Mark calling about his commute home from the law firm where he worked as a paralegal. Instead, her mother-in-law's voice cut through the speaker like ice. "Claire, we need to talk." Margaret's tone carried that familiar edge of disapproval that had become a constant in Claire's 5-year marriage to Mark. At 32, Claire had learned to brace herself whenever her mother-in-law used that particular inflection. "Of course, Margaret. What's on your mind?" "It's about Jessica's wedding next month. Thomas and I have been discussing the guest list, and we've made a difficult decision." The pause stretched uncomfortably long. "We think it would be best if you didn't attend." Claire's wooden spoon clattered to the floor, sending droplets of marinara sauce across the kitchen tiles. The smell of garlic and herbs suddenly felt overwhelming. "I'm sorry? What?" Claire's voice barely rose above a whisper. "You heard me correctly? This is Jessica's special day, and we can't risk any complications." The word complications hung in the air like a slap. Claire knew exactly what Margaret meant. 3 months earlier, at Mark's cousin's birthday party, Claire had accidentally knocked over an expensive vase while trying to help serve dessert. The incident had been blown out of proportion, with Margaret telling everyone who would listen about Claire's clumsiness and how she always found a way to make things about herself. "Margaret, that was an accident. I apologized and even offered to replace. This isn't just about the vase, Claire. It's about a pattern. The engagement party where you wore white. It was cream-colored. And I asked Jessica if it was appropriate. The baby shower where you brought a gift that wasn't on the registry. I thought homemade items would be more meaningful enough." Margaret's voice was final. "The decision is made. Mark is still invited, of course. He's family. But you'll need to find something else to do that weekend." The line went dead, leaving Claire staring at her phone in disbelief. The pasta water boiled over, hissing against the hot burner, but she couldn't move. 20 minutes later, when Mark walked through the door, he found her sitting on the kitchen floor, crying into her hands. "Claire, what happened?" Mark dropped his briefcase and rushed to her side, his brown eyes filled with concern. Through her tears, Claire explained the conversation. Mark's jaw tightened with each word, his face flushing red with anger. "This is insane. I'll call her right now." "No, Mark." Claire grabbed his arm. "Please, don't. It'll only make things worse." "Worse? How could this possibly get worse? You're my wife. If you're not welcome, then I'm not going either." Claire looked into her husband's eyes, seeing the conflict there. Jessica was Mark's younger sister, only 28, and they'd been close since childhood. This wedding meant everything to her, and Claire knew how much Mark was looking forward to walking her down the aisle, since their father had passed away 2 years earlier. "You have to go," Claire said quietly. "Jessica needs you there. Your family needs you there. But what about what I need? What about what you need?" Claire forced a smile, though her heart was breaking. "I need you to be there for your sister." "I'll be fine." But as they sat in their kitchen that night, picking at the dinner neither of them had any appetite for, Claire wondered if she would ever truly be accepted by Mark's family, or if she would always be the outsider looking in. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of tense phone calls and awkward family dinners. Mark had attempted to reason with his mother twice, but each conversation ended in shouting matches that left him drained, and Claire feeling even more isolated. Jessica, caught in the middle, had called Claire once to apologize, her voice barely audible over the phone. "I'm so sorry, Claire. I wanted you there. I really did. But Mom said, She said if I invited you anyway, she'd boycott the wedding entirely." Claire had reassured Jessica that she understood, but the conversation left her feeling hollow. She watched Mark grow more distant and irritable as the wedding approached, torn between loyalty to his wife and his family obligations. The Thursday before the wedding, Claire sat in her office at the nonprofit where she worked as a program coordinator, trying to focus on grant applications. Her colleague and best friend, Maria, knocked on her doorframe. "You look like someone stole your puppy," Maria said, settling into the chair across from Claire's desk. "Still thinking about the wedding?" Claire nodded, not trusting her voice. Maria was the only person outside the family who knew the full story. "Have you thought about what you're going to do that weekend?" "I was thinking of visiting my sister in Milwaukee. Get out of town, try to forget about it." Maria leaned forward. "Oh, you could show them exactly what kind of person you are." "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe this is your chance to prove that you're the bigger person, that you care more about their happiness than your own hurt feelings." Claire stared at her friend. "I don't follow." Remember when my cousin got married last year? The week before, their week planner had a family emergency and disappeared. Total nightmare. The bride was in tears, the groom was ready to elope to Vegas, and nobody knew what to do. Claire remembered the story. Maria had worked around the clock to help salvage the wedding, coordinating with vendors, managing the timeline, and even hand-addressing invitations for last-minute guests. You think Jessica might need help? I think every bride needs help. And you, my friend, are the most organized, thoughtful person I know. You plan charity galas for a living. A wedding would be child's play for you. That evening, Claire sat on her couch with her laptop, an idea forming in her mind. She'd been following Jessica's wedding social media posts, and while everything looked perfect on the surface, Claire's trained eye caught the stress signals. The desperate posts asking for vendor recommendations, the last-minute changes to the reception layout, the frantic messages about weather contingencies. When Mark came home that night, he found Claire surrounded by notebooks and printouts. "What's all this?" he asked, loosening his tie. "Research," Claire said simply. "I want to help with Jessica's wedding." Mark stared at her. "Claire, you're not even invited." "I know, but that doesn't mean I can't help. Behind the scenes, anonymously, if necessary. My family has treated you terribly. Why would you want to help them?" Claire looked up at her husband, seeing the exhaustion in his face, the weight of the family conflict wearing him down. "Because they're your family. Because Jessica deserves a perfect wedding day. And because, she paused, choosing her words carefully. Because maybe it's time someone showed them who I really am, not who they think I am." Mark sat down beside her, taking her hand. "You don't have to prove anything to them. Maybe not. But I want to prove something to myself." Saturday morning dawned gray and drizzly in Evanston, where the wedding was being held at a historic lakefront venue. Claire had been awake since 4 a.m., her car packed with emergency supplies and her phone buzzing with updates from the weather service. She'd spent the previous evening discreetly reaching out to Jessica's wedding planner, introducing herself as a family friend who wanted to help ensure everything went smoothly. The planner, overwhelmed and grateful for assistance, had shared the day's timeline and vendor contact list. From her car in the venue parking lot, Claire had a clear view of the loading dock, where vendors were arriving. She watched the florist's truck pull up 30 minutes late. The driver, looking frazzled as he unloaded wilted centerpieces. Claire's phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Getting ready at the hotel. Mom's in full panic mode about the weather. Wish you were here." She smiled sadly and typed back, "Tell Jessica she's going to be beautiful. I love you." By 10 a.m., Claire had already sprung into action 3 times. When the bakery called to say the wedding cake's top tier had been damaged in transport, she'd driven to every bakery in a 10-mile radius until she found one that could recreate the design in 2 hours. When the string quartet called in sick with food poisoning, she'd contacted the local music conservatory and arranged for 4 talented students to perform for a fraction of the original cost. The rain had stopped, but the humidity was rising, threatening to wilt the outdoor ceremony decorations. Claire quietly coordinated with the venue staff to set up additional fans and shade structures, paying for the extra equipment herself. From her position in the parking lot, she could see the bridal party arriving. Jessica radiant in her flowing white gown, despite the stress lines around her eyes. Margaret emerged from a black sedan, her face pinched with worry as she surveyed the cloudy sky. Claire's phone rang. It was Jessica's wedding planner. "Claire, I don't know how to thank you. The cake situation is resolved. The musicians are setting up now. And the venue coordinator said you arranged for weather contingencies." "Just doing what I can to help," Claire replied, watching through her windshield as the photographer struggled with lighting issues due to the overcast conditions. "There's one more thing," the planner continued. "The officiant just called. His flight was canceled due to storms in Denver. He won't make it." Claire's heart sank. This was the one problem she might not be able to solve. In Illinois, you needed to be ordained or licensed to perform marriages, and she knew Jessica's officiant was a close family friend who'd gotten certified specifically for this wedding. "How much time do we have?" "Ceremony starts at 4. It's noon now." Claire closed her eyes, thinking. Then she remembered something from her nonprofit work. One of their board members was a retired judge who'd officiated several charity fundraiser weddings. "Let me make a call." Judge Patricia Hendricks answered on the second ring. After Claire explained the situation, the judge agreed to help, but there was a catch. "I can be there by 3:30, but I'll need someone to walk me through the ceremony script and help me understand the family dynamics. These personal touches matter." Claire realized what this meant. She would have to enter the venue, risking a confrontation with Margaret, to ensure Jessica's wedding could proceed. She looked at herself in the rearview mirror, took a deep breath, and made her decision. I'll be there. At 3:15 p.m., Claire walked through the venue's main entrance for the first time, her heart pounding. She'd changed into a simple navy dress and pulled her hair into a neat bun, hoping to blend in with the wedding staff. The venue was transformed. Despite the morning's challenges, everything looked perfect. The flowers were fresh, the cake was elegant, the musicians were tuning their instruments, and guests were beginning to arrive for the 4 p.m. ceremony. Claire made her way to the bridal suite, where she could hear Jessica's voice through the door, tight with anxiety. I can't believe Pastor Williams isn't here. This is a disaster. What if the replacement doesn't know what to say? What if he messes up our vows? Claire knocked gently. Jessica, it's Claire. I'm here with Judge Hendricks, your officiant for today. The door opened, and Jessica's face went white. Behind her, Claire could see Margaret rising from a chair, her expression shifting from surprise to fury. What is she doing here? Margaret demanded. Mom, please, Jessica said, stepping forward. Claire, what's happening? Where's Pastor Williams? Claire quickly explained the situation, introducing Judge Hendricks, who had driven from downtown Chicago to help. As she spoke, she watched Margaret's face. Seeing the internal struggle between her dislike of Claire and her desperation for Jessica's wedding to succeed, Judge Hendricks needs to review the ceremony details and understand your family traditions, Claire continued. I can help coordinate that, but I'll need about 20 minutes with Jessica to go over everything. Margaret stepped forward. Absolutely not. You're not supposed to be here. Margaret, Judge Hendricks interjected gently. I understand there may be family tensions, but right now, my concern is ensuring this young woman has a beautiful wedding. Claire has been instrumental in solving several crisis situations today, and I need her expertise to make this ceremony meaningful. Jessica looked between her mother and Claire, tears forming in her eyes. Claire, you've been helping. Even after what happened? Claire nodded. I wanted your day to be perfect. You deserve that. The room fell silent. Through the window, they could see guests taking their seats outside, Mark among them, looking handsome in his charcoal suit but clearly worried. We have 15 minutes, Judge Hendricks said quietly. What's it going to be? Margaret's voice was barely audible. Do whatever you need to do. The next 20 minutes were a whirlwind. Claire worked with Judge Hendricks and Jessica to craft a ceremony that honored both the original script and the family's traditions. She helped Jessica touch up her makeup, adjust her veil, and practice walking in her shoes on the venue's uneven stone pathway. As the processional music began, Claire prepared to slip away, her job complete. But Jessica caught her arm. Stay, she whispered. Please. I know, Mom said. But I want you here. Your family. Claire looked across the room at Margaret, who was adjusting her own outfit in the mirror. Their eyes met in the reflection. And for a moment, Claire saw something different there. Not warmth exactly, but a grudging recognition. Go, Margaret said quietly. Find a seat in the back. Quickly. The ceremony was beautiful. Judge Hendricks delivered a heartfelt service that had everyone in tears, including Margaret. Jessica glowed with happiness, and Mark, serving as the officiant's assistant, couldn't stop smiling. During the reception, as the couple shared their first dance, Margaret approached Claire at her table in the back corner. I owe you an apology, Margaret said, her voice stiff but sincere. What you did today, ... Putting aside your hurt feelings to help Jessica, ... That showed real character. Claire looked up at her mother-in-law. I love this family, Margaret, even when it's difficult. Even when I'm not sure you want me to. Margaret was quiet for a long moment, watching Jessica and her new husband swaying to the music. I was protecting my family, she said finally. At least, I thought I was. But maybe I was protecting them from the wrong thing. As the evening wound down, Mark found Claire helping the staff clean up centerpieces, even though she'd already done more than enough. You're incredible, he said, pulling her into his arms. Do you know that? I just wanted Jessica to be happy. She is. We all are. Well, except for Mom, who's been apologizing to anyone who listened about how wrong she was about you. Claire laughed, the first genuine laugh she'd had in weeks. It's okay. Family is complicated. Yeah, but you know what's not complicated? How much I love you, and how proud I am to call you my wife. As they drove home through the quiet Chicago streets, Claire felt something she hadn't experienced in years when it came to Mark's family. Hope. It wouldn't be easy, and there would probably be more challenges ahead, but today had changed something fundamental between them. Sometimes, the greatest victory comes not from fighting back, but from choosing to love despite everything. And, sometimes, the family that seems most determined to shut you out is the one that needs your grace the most. 3 months later, Margaret would ask Claire to help plan her 60th birthday party. Claire would say yes, and this time, she'd be sitting at the family table from the very beginning.